Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Runnin the Paint recap. I'm Miles from the Runnin the Paint podcast, and we've got the final three game twos of the first round to go over from last night. Before I get into the three ball games that occurred, make sure you drop a like on this video. You can check out the description down below to jump forward to whatever game that you might be interested in hearing me talk about, because I know in a 20 to 30 minute video may not have enough time to hear me talk about all three games. So go ahead, feel free to jump ahead to the game that you want to hear me talk about. I thank you guys so much for tuning in to this video and all the other ones that we've done so far in this postseason. But let's jump right into the game twos. First up, we had the Orlando Magic and the Boston Celtics. We received word early yesterday that Jason Tatum was doubtful for the game with the right wrist bone bruise that he suffered in the second half of game number one. And the Celtics eventually ruled him out for the game. So going into this, a lot of people were thinking that the Orlando Magic could potentially steal this game. When I say a lot of people, maybe a lot of people in this podcast, in the Runnin the Paint podcast, because I'm pretty sure we have a pick'em that we do for every single game in the postseason. And Jackson and Joey had faith that the Magic could steal this game. And I did it first, I will admit. But I ended up switching my pick to the Celtics, and it ended up being the right pick as Boston still knocked off Orlando 109-100 to take the 2-0 lead. And, man, the big difference in this game for the Celtics was Jaylen Brown stepped up after having a subpar performance in game one, along with Jason Tatum and even Kristaps Porzingis. Brown stepped up. He had an incredible game with the 36 points, was making tough shots, whether it was drives to the basket. His mid-range game is lethal. And with Jaylen Brown, him going 5 for 7 from three, when he hits 5 threes, man, you almost got to live with that if you're the defense, because all the deep shootings, all the great shooters that the Celtics have in that lineup, Jaylen Brown's probably the one that you live with taking threes, especially off the dribble threes, especially with this lineup that they had on the floor with Horford and Porzingis. Horford started in place of Jason Tatum, and the two bigs were great for Boston. But Jaylen Brown stepped up. Again, the 36 points, 12 for 19 from the field, 5 for 7 from three. And if you go back and take a look at the shots that he made, to go 63% on the type of looks that he was getting, extremely impressive against that Orlando Magic defense. And it was so huge because no one else really got it going offensively for Boston. He was the only player that shot above 50% from the field. But the big thing for Boston in this game, despite them not shooting well from three, they got to the free throw line a whole lot, including Jaylen Brown and Kristaps Porzingis, who was getting beat up the entire game. The big scab on his forehead that had the 5 stitches, had to leave the game, come back. Head coach Joe Mazzulla said after the game he liked seeing Porzingis bleeding on the ground after that, and then coming back. But the free throw line was definitely a big advantage for Boston because they were attacking the glass as well with Horford and Porzingis in that starting lineup. Those two individually grabbed 9 offensive rebounds. Which is huge. Horford, Porzingis, and Brown all grabbed 10 rebounds. That's a big reason why the Celtics out-rebounded Orlando 46-34 by 12. And then offensive rebounds, it was 13-7, again in favor of the Boston Celtics. So the Celtics, even without Jason Tatum, able to get the job done in game two on the offensive end because Brown able to step up and they get to the free throw line a whole bunch. On the Orlando side of things, kind of a similar story to game one where you get an amazing performance from Paolo Banchero. He goes for 32, 9, and 7. Franz Wagner, good. He was better than he was in game one with 25 points. And you even got a crazy performance from Wendell Carter. I mean, him going 3 for 3 from downtown is found money considering how bad of a three-point shooter he was, particularly this year. But just not having that consistent three-point shooting, man, it's such a problem for this Magic team. This is the second straight year in the playoffs where we're seeing how much of a problem it is. Last year in the Cleveland series, strategy for the Cavaliers, let the Magic take three-pointers. And then it continued. They obviously lose the series in a tough, hard-fought 7-game series. And then this entire season, they're the worst three-point shooting team in the league, and it's gotten worse here in the playoffs because, again, the strategy is basically for Boston, keep Orlando off the free throw line and out of the paint. And when you are the Boston Celtics and you employ elite defenders at basically every position in your starting lineup, you know, most of the time that's going to play to your advantage. So I give the Magic a lot of credit for just staying in this and fighting. You know, the start of the third quarter for the Celtics is really why they were able to pull ahead and keep the lead at like 7-15 throughout the entire second half. But Orlando kept on fighting back, but that lack of three-point shooting, just such a problem. I mean, especially considering, you know, Paolo has stepped up his three-point game so far in this series and in his playoff career. But like Franz Wagner, somehow the three-point shot has got even worse than last year. He now has this hitch in his shot, which makes it so much worse. And he's now, let me see what he was in game one, because now he was 1 for 7 from 3 in this game. I think he may have hit only 1 in game 1, if maybe not even that. Let's see. He was 1 for 6 in game 1. So he's 2 for 13 from 3 in the series. And he's a guy that you need to be able to knock down threes when all your role players besides Wendell Carter couldn't hit the side of the barn. I mean, and Wendell Carter, again, that's found money. I mean, he's a guy that we've known throughout his career to be a good three-point shooter, you know, at the center position. But this year, he's a guy that you live with shooting threes. He shot him at 23% on 2 attempts. But your shooters, Caleb Houston 0 for 2, Anthony Black 0 for 2. Gary Harris played 13 minutes. He didn't get a three-pointer up. Cole Anthony's only able to play 5 minutes. And then the big one is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. In 34.5 minutes, 1 of 9 from the field, 0 for 6 from 3. And all of the looks were absolutely fantastic. And this is what the Magic brought him in the summer to do, was to provide that three-point threat. And he just hasn't been able to do it really at any sort of consistent level. And it's costing Orlando. I mean, him going 0 for 6 from 3 on all pretty good catch-and-shoot looks is disappointing. And a decent amount of them were in and out. So he's had some bad luck there. But, you know, Orlando... now they'll go to Orlando for game 3 coming up here soon. Boston obviously in great control. For Jason Tatum and his injury, I probably wouldn't even worry about bringing him back, you know, until maybe the second round series. I wouldn't really worry about him in this series against Orlando, because you may not need him to get past the Magic. Maybe it's a situation, maybe in game 3, the Magic do hit threes, they take game 3, and then you bring Tatum back in for game 4. You basically can keep him out until you lose in this first round. And I think that's what they're going to do to make sure that he's okay, because the thing is, for the Celtics, they may get past the Magic in a sweep. They may get past them in 5 games, whatever. But even if they get past this series quickly, their guys are getting beat up by this Magic team. Obviously, you see the Porzingis injury. Tatum just missed this game. You don't want to mess around in these first-round series against these physical, you know, gritty teams. So that's something to watch for going forward in the series. But the Celtics able to get the job done without Jason Tatum. They take the 2-0 lead. Moving on next, the Cleveland Cavaliers also took a 2-0 lead in their series against the Miami Heat. They take game 2, 121-112, in just a crazy game on the offensive side for Cleveland, specifically from three-point land, where after Miami came out very well to start the game, they scored, I believe, like 16 of the first 23 points. They had a 9-point lead early. Cavs started to pick up their intensity to another level on both ends of the floor. And man, their defense was fantastic, you know, forcing Miami into tough shots in the second quarter. But Cleveland was turning all of those misses into threes at the other end, like literally all of them in that second quarter. Let me see what the score in the second quarter was, because I know the number on it, you know, as I take a look here. They outscored Miami 43-27 in the second quarter. And the Cavaliers made 11 threes in the second quarter. That's not a typo or anything like that. Cleveland Cavaliers made 11 3-pointers in the second quarter. They were 11 for 16 from deep. And that is to not really a surprise. The 11 threes in the second quarter is the most in playoff history for any quarter. So the Cavs really turned that second quarter with all those threes, and it was everyone that was hitting threes. The only players to not make a three were obviously Jared Allen and Dean Wade, who only played 5.5 minutes. Everyone else hit a three. Max Strus was on fire in the second quarter. DeAndre Hunter hit like the first 2 threes to really start that crazy run. Sam Merrill had a couple threes. Throughout the game, Garland was good playmaking. He got to the free throw line a decent amount. But the 2 players for the Cavs that obviously we got to talk about, Evan Mobley throughout the game to start in the first quarter had 3 beautiful dunks all in transition. Just the evolution of him as a player has just been so great to watch this season. And just the overall variance in his game. He was 7 for 10 from the field with 20 points. And of his 7 makes, 3 of them were fast break dunks in the first quarter. 2 of them were off the dribble. One of them was an and one off a great pass from Ty Jerome and then Donovan Mitchell. And then in the second, he has 3 dunks in the first quarter. Rest of the game hits 3 threes, and then his other make was a post up, a jump hook over Bam Adebayo, I believe, when the Cavs needed to go to him for some late shot clock offense. So the fact that he can just do all those things offensively and then hold Bam Adebayo at the other end to just 3 for 9 shooting, absolutely fantastic performance from Evan Mobley. And then, of course, Donovan Mitchell, man. Donovan Mitchell, second straight 30-point game to begin these playoffs. 17 of them came in the fourth quarter when it began to be a little bit scary because the Cavs, they were reigning in the threes in the first half, of course, and in that second quarter, and they had like an 18 to 19-point lead in the third quarter. Then Miami started to play their trademark zone defense. And they played it differently than they did in the first half because something I noticed was in the first half, when the Cavs started to rain in all those threes in the second quarter, it coincided with Miami playing their zone defense. But the zone defense was kind of aimed towards getting the Cavaliers out of the paint, where they were having some success in the first quarter. But to me, most of the paint points that they got to start the game were in transition off of when they were getting defensive stops. So Miami was so focused on getting the Cavs out of the paint that the Cavs just started raining in a bunch of threes, from every player on the floor, whether it was Hunter, Strus, Mitchell, Okoro had a corner 3. I don't know if I said Merrill already. And that was a huge problem. In the third quarter, the zone defense was aimed to protect the 3-point line. And the Cavs, they're a team that, I think any NBA team would get like this. If you make 11 threes in the quarter, naturally, if you go on a stretch maybe in the third quarter where you get cold for a little bit and miss a few, that may impact how well you play on the defensive end and how well you get back. And that was a problem for the Cavaliers. Miami got a lot of transition baskets off of, defensive stops against Cleveland, and then also from their second chance opportunities. They had 9 offensive rebounds in this game, and it felt like a lot of them led to second chance opportunities from 3 in that second half. Davion Mitchell was huge with 18 points and 6 assists. He was in the starting lineup. Of course, Tyler Hero, offensively, amazing game. He had 33 points, 6 boards, 5 assists on 58% shooting. The guy is absolutely fantastic. His offensive game is truly, truly special. The defense is obviously something that the Cavaliers are targeting, as Darius Garland literally said in the post-game interview, and we all know that. We all know that the Cavs made offensive goals to get really Tyler Hero onto the guard and then go to work, and that's what happened, in game 1, of course, down the stretch when the guards went crazy, and similar, that was the goal here in game 2. But we saw Eric Spoelstra make a lot of adjustments from game 1 to game 2, both in his strategy with his defenses on the floor, but with his rotations as well. Davion Mitchell enters the starting lineup. Alec Burks, not in the rotation at all. We don't see any Kyle Anderson at all, and we see some Pele Larson, and we also see Nikola Jovic, who ended up finishing the game because of his rebounding abilities. He really struggled from three, but he's always been a very versatile player for Miami. So making some rotational switches, Eric Spoelstra, we know that he's all about making those adjustments, and it led to them being in the position to potentially win the game in game two. I went on a whole other tangent there, but once Miami was able to get back into the game when they aimed their zone defense to protect both the paint and the three-point line, then Tyler Hero got going, and they got three-pointers off of second-chance opportunities. Haywood Highsmith, 5 for 6 from three. He was fantastic, 17 points. He was a beneficiary off a lot of those second-chance opportunities. Miami cuts the lead to 2, and then it's Donovan Mitchell time. He goes for, I think, the next 10 Cavalier points off of ridiculous shots. The easiest shot he made was probably the closest shot he made was the little floater, the contested floater right at the foul line. Then the next 3 plays, step back, fall away, mid-range shot on the right side, which is always a tougher shot for a right-handed player. When you're driving to the right and taking a step back to your right, having it over the defender, able to get that to go, and then drains in 2 threes right after that. I mean, Mitchell, unbelievable, dude. I mean, he is really one of the great playoff performers in NBA history. He's one of the great playoff scorers in NBA history. This is his best time of year, his favorite time of year. And I'm excited to see if he can keep this going, for this team, because I would hate for someone like him, who is such a great leader, an incredible scorer at all 3 levels, and a very, decent defender for a star player, just not have the playoff success. You see him as one of the leading playoff point per game scorers of all time. And then it's like, okay, no conference finals, obviously no championships or finals appearances. So he's really not that good. I hope that this year and obviously future years, he's able to change that type of stigma and improve his playoff resume, because it's already incredible. And he frankly saved the Cavaliers in this game. They also picked up their defense in the final minutes as well, especially coming out of timeouts. Max Strus got a steal when the Heat were trying to get a late, game situation score. All around, very solid game for Cleveland. The players that didn't really have it going in game one, like Mobley offensively, Allen, DeAndre Hunter, they got going in this game. And that's obviously going to be huge for them as the series shifts to Miami. But the Heat should be feeling pretty good. I'm sure that the Heat fans are thinking, all right, we've been on the road for a couple weeks here because of the play-in tournament and obviously this series. So game 3 on Saturday, you think that's going to be their first time at home in about 2 weeks. So I'm sure they're ready to get home. Obviously, role players play better at home. And I'm sure Heat fans are thinking game 1, Ty Jerome had a crazy game, which he's done a lot this year, but he had an incredible game in game 1. And in game 2, the Cleveland Cavaliers had the greatest 3-point shooting quarter in playoff history. And that's not going to happen again. So Heat should be feeling pretty good going into game 3 with the adjustments that they made. Coach Spo is going to make some more adjustments. We'll see if he throws Jovic into the starting lineup or whatever. But Cavaliers taking both of the home games, definitely important as the series shifts to Miami. Again, it's huge for these higher seeded teams to just get done with their first round series as quick as possible. We'll see if both the Celtics and Cavaliers can do that with their wins. Final game. This is the one that has the most things to talk about. The Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. This game was basically going to be the season for the Houston Rockets. After losing in game 1, you cannot go down 0-2 when you have both of the games at home. So how were the Rockets going to respond? This felt like it was even more of a physical game than game 1. If game 1 was like a 2005 playoff game, this game was a 1990s playoff game because, oh my goodness, the amount of physicality was absolutely incredible. But Houston was able to get the big win in game 2. They take it 109-94 to even up the series at 1 game apiece. You see, Jalen Green went absolutely crazy for the Rockets with 38 points, tied a Rocket playoff record with 8 threes, and the Rockets get their first playoff victory in 5 seasons. Before we get into what the Rockets did well, of course, the number one thing that is going to be talked about from this game is Jimmy Butler. Because let's see here. 8 minutes into the game, less than 8 minutes into the game, Jimmy Butler goes up for a rebound, and Amen Thompson on the Rockets gets pushed by Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler is up in the air. Amen Thompson basically undercuts him, or not basically, he undercuts him because Draymond Green pushed him, and Jimmy Butler goes up into the air, is not able to set himself up for a fall, and lands right on his tailbone, and he misses the rest of the game. And that obviously changed a whole lot of this game, for the Golden State Warriors. For the second straight game, the Houston Rockets got off to a really good start in the first quarter there. But after this Jimmy Butler injury, it was just tough for the Warriors to really generate any solid offense here, going the rest of the way here. And credit to the Houston Rockets. They definitely took advantage. We'll get into what they did so well. Of course, offensively, like I said, Jalen Green had an incredible bounce back game. This is his first even good game in a few weeks. He had really struggled to close out the regular season, but he was great in this game. 38 points on 13 to 25, shooting the 8 threes again. Alperen Şengün played great. I mean, their two best players stepped up when they needed them to, at least from the regular season. Jalen Green with the 38. Şengün had 17, 16 rebounds, and 7 assists. And he just made so many plays, man. Whether it was a post-up for a score, whether it was a three, whether it was a pass, whether it was a steal with those quick hands that he has, he just did everything out there, man. This was a very impressive game for Şengün. He's been one of the more impressive players through the first 2 games of the playoffs. And then their role players stepped up as well. Dylan Brooks had 16 points. Tari Eason had 14. Most of those came in the first half. He had like 12 points in the first 5-6 minutes that he was out there. And then Jabari Smith had another good game. Steven Adams was good once again on the boards. Amen Thompson was good. I mean, everyone that stepped on the floor for Houston had a good game. Everyone that played, during the game when it was still, a contest and all that. So the Rockets, great credit to them for getting the job done offensively. But defensively is where things really turn around, because when, of course, Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry in game 1 and over the last week, that duo has been absolutely incredible on the offensive side of the floor because they just balance each other off so well. And of course, when Jimmy Butler goes down, it kind of just throws off the Warriors, because obviously he goes down. Brandon Podziemski was dealing with food poisoning the whole day, so he really didn't play that much. So you have 2 starters, 2 really important pieces to your starting lineup that basically didn't play a whole lot in this game. Butler plays 8 minutes. Podziemski played 14 minutes. He put up a Tony Snell game, was 0 for 5 from the field. So after the injury happened, Steve Kerr was just throwing out random lineups to try to find something. And to the Rockets' credit, when you have Jimmy Butler off the floor and Brandon Podziemski off the floor, and you have this great defensive team, just don't let Steph Curry get looks. And really, throughout most of the game, I know Steph Curry had 20 points, but I mean, he only had 15 shots. It really didn't feel like he had much of an impact, honestly, on this ball game, because Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks were doing a great job, and Amen Thompson were doing a great job just denying him the basketball and making every shot he had to take difficult no matter what. And then when you basically take Steph Curry away, or maybe not away, but when you make everything so tough for him on that end of the floor, then this Warriors team is just extremely limited, because you look at who they had to go to here. I mean, Moses Moody was okay. I mean, he had 12 points at 3 threes. So they're going to need more from him going forward in this series. Draymond Green had 5 turnovers in this game. He really wasn't that great, and he didn't have much impact on, the great performances from Şengün, on the Rocket side of things. And then the bench, again, Steve Kerr had to go very deep in his bench. He had to play lineups that I don't know we have seen before this season. We got more Quentin Post minutes, and he was good in the second half at 4 threes for the game. We saw more Guy Santos minutes. Jonathan Kuminga finally got minutes in the rotation after being out of it for the last few weeks, just to try to get him some rhythm. he really wasn't that great. He had 11 points. He was 4 for 12 from the field, but this type of game, this is honestly one where if you're the Warriors taking game one already, you already stole home court advantage. This is kind of a game where obviously you want to win, but just trying to find the rhythm for some of your role players and knocking the rust off for a guy like Kuminga who hasn't played in a while. This game was pretty good for him to do that. We saw Pat Spencer come in and play good minutes. He was good in the first half. But obviously, when you're looking at the role player, you're having Pat Spencer, Guy Santos, Quentin Post, Kuminga, who hasn't played in a while. You're asking all those guys to come in and play significant playoff minutes. And besides probably Quentin Post, I'm sure Steve Kerr was not expecting any of those guys to really play besides maybe Santos for like 4 to 5 minutes. So as we move forward in this series, again, great victory for Houston. Of course, this was a game they needed to win, and with Jimmy Butler out, definitely took advantage of the situation. Moving forward in this series, as we move on to games 3 and 4, the series obviously shifts to San Francisco. All eyes are going to be on the status of Jimmy Butler for the Warriors after going down with that injury. I think it was regarded as a pelvic contusion, and he was out for the rest of the game. The brief moment where after the injury, he was down on the court for a while. He got up. He didn't look good, walking. It definitely looked rough. Obviously, he's going to have an MRI today as this video comes out to check to see his status. And the Warriors-Rockets game 3 of this series is not until Saturday, so there is an extra day of rest, which is going to be good for these Warriors guys that are banged up, and the Rockets guys as well, because something I didn't even talk about in regards to this game was I mentioned the physicality, but my goodness, dude, the amount of possessions where multiple players were just on the ground was unreal. It was absolutely unreal. So for this series to have an extra day to have 2 days of rest in between is so important, especially for a veteran Warriors team to kind of get themselves together here, because they're definitely banged up after this game. I'm sure they are. Rockets are the young pups. Warriors are the veterans. And one of their main veterans, Jimmy Butler, is probably going to be day to day for now. But I think the question that everyone's going to be asking today following the game 2 and this injury is, if Jimmy Butler is not able to go, even at 100%, can the Golden State Warriors defeat the Houston Rockets in this series? And it's obviously a huge question mark. And to me, from what we saw in this game, I don't think the Warriors can beat the Rockets if Jimmy Butler is injured and having to miss games, or even if he comes back and he's like maybe, let's say, 60 to 70% of himself. Because here's the thing with Jimmy Butler. He has been so good over these last few games. Let me get his numbers up here from the last few games here. And in the most important games of the season, his last 4 games, he had the 25-7-6 game in game 1 against Houston. He was obviously enormous in the play-in game against Memphis, which of course the stats don't even count. But even going back to the end of the regular season, his 30 points against the Clippers, he had 24-5-7 at Portland, 28-4-7 against San Antonio, again, getting to the free throw line a whole lot. And Jimmy Butler is a guy that it is noticeable how different the Warriors play. And even when the Heat played, back when Jimmy Butler was on the Heat during their championship or their finals runs, when he is not aggressive, it is huge. It's huge. The Warriors already have a ton of players on their team that, in my opinion, are just scared to take open shots sometimes, whether it's Moody, Podziemski, Gary Payton. They have a lot of players that are scared to shoot the ball at times when they need to be taking the good shots that the Warriors are generating there. And Jimmy Butler is a guy that sometimes falls into that category as well, which is crazy for an all-star, but his number one priority on the floor is to make his teammates better and to drive to the basket to get a layup or to get to the free throw line. And he had not lacked that aggression in the last 5 games that he has played. Now with this injury, even if he comes back, if he is not looking to score, if he's not physically able to look to score at the level that he has, then it's going to be really tough for the Warriors to generate offense. It's going to be even tougher than it was for them in these first 2 games because, I mean, you look at this game, they had 94 points. They won game 1 with just 95 points. They have not had a good offensive series, and Houston has done a great job. And obviously, Jalen Green having the huge game, too, was the biggest reason why the Rockets were able to score like 24 more points than they did in game 1. And, of course, Golden State has the home court advantage where you would hope that Buddy Hield has more of an impact on this series. You'd hope that maybe Kuminga, if he has to start or if he has to play more minutes, can have a 15 to 20-point game. I mean, he's a very solid player. He was their 3rd leading scorer throughout the regular season, so I don't think that the Warriors are absolutely doomed. I'm not saying that they don't have any chance, but they need Jimmy Butler back. They need Jimmy Butler back. And if he is not able to come back and the Warriors, if he's not able to come back, I honestly don't see how the Warriors can take a game, take more than a couple games to fight with the Rockets in this series because the Rockets are roughing up the Warriors. And with Jimmy Butler out, the Warriors are losing bodies, and they're going to be asking guys to play bigger roles like they did tonight. Again, you're going to be asking guys like Pat Spencer, Guy Santos, Kuminga, Quentin Post to just up their levels when heading into this series. Again, besides Quentin Post, he's even played more than I expected in this series. All those guys are going to have to provide more than what we originally expected coming into this series, and that's going to be something that those guys will have to be prepared for in the next few days. Maybe we'll see Trace Jackson-Davis get a chance to play some more minutes to try to help out with the defensive rebounding and try to give the Warriors some extra possessions here because the Rockets' size has certainly made a difference with Şengün, Eason, Jabari Smith, Steven Adams, and even Thompson's athleticism. But again, overall, Houston Rockets, incredible victory. Very important that they were able to get this victory, of course, overall for the series. But now with Jimmy Butler going out, very important that they win this game. And it's back tied up 1 apiece. Series shifts to San Francisco on Saturday. And we'll find out more about Jimmy Butler probably later today. And hopefully he comes back. I hope he can come back because I would hate for the Warriors to just not have a chance in this series because Jimmy Butler's not able to play, man. But again, all credit to the Houston Rockets for the way that they played in this game on both ends of the floor. They took it to the Warriors. They absolutely took it to the Warriors throughout the game. There was never really a moment throughout this entire game where I thought that Golden State was going to make a push and come back. I thought Houston was in control for the entire game. And they were very, very impressive. So shout out to the Rockets for evening up that series at 1 game apiece. And then for the Cavs and Celtics for taking those 2-0 leads. Heading into tonight, we start to have some game 3s. We've got 3 of them here tonight. First up at 7 o'clock on TNT, it's game 3 between the Knicks and the Pistons. Little Caesars Arena, Detroit basketball. Detroit will host their first playoff game in 6 years and coming off of their first playoff victory in 17 years. This is a huge game for the New York Knicks because throughout those first 2 games, Detroit has had the control of that series. So we'll see if New York can try to find their answer in what will be a very hostile Detroit Pistons crowd. Again, their first playoff game in 6 years and probably in the last 17 years, this is the first time that the Pistons fans have hope that they can win a series like this. So I cannot wait for that game. Then at 9:30 on TNT, we've got game 3 between Oklahoma City and Memphis. The Thunder up 2-0 have been very convincing in that series. And then the big game, of course, for some reason, it is on NBA TV at 10 o'clock. It's game 3 of this incredible series between Denver and the LA Clippers, which is tied up at 1 apiece after we had a 2-point overtime victory for Denver in game 1 and a 3-point victory for the Clippers in game 2. This will be the first playoff game inside of the Intuit Dome. Obviously, that has been the best series by far so far in this first round. So I cannot wait to see who can take the 2-1 edge in that game. So we'll be back on the playoff recaps tomorrow, recapping all those games. I'm so excited for that. Knicks, Pistons, and the Nuggets, Clippers. And we'll see. Maybe the Grizzlies put up some fight now that they're at home. But that's it for me. I know we went a lot longer than normal, but certainly a lot to talk about, especially with that Warriors-Rockets game. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA postseason content. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.